I'm a videographer and I recently switched to Dropbox from Google Drive for two big reasons. And I think if you're a photographer or videographer and you've been considering online storage solutions, I think this video is relevant to you. So the first reason why I hated using Dropbox is because it's way too difficult to download a bunch of files on the web browser. Let me paint you a scenario. Let's say I just finished a shoot and I need to send a bunch of footage to somebody. So I would just drag and drop everything into a folder, share the folder or copy the link to it, and then just send it to them. Now, what they would have to do is select everything and right-click and download. That's what they're intuitively gonna do. The issue with Google Drive is the first thing you're gonna be hit with when trying to download something like this is a pretty long wait time of just the files zipping. So that's kind of the first issue, is that the zipping takes a while before you can start the download. And then once the download starts, guess what? You'll realize that it's not actually going to give you one zip file. It will give you multiple zip files depending on how large your folder is. And I haven't done tests on this conclusively to find out what threshold it uses, but basically if you have a 100 gigabyte folder and it's got even subfolders in between and you download that entire folder, it's gonna divide it up into like anywhere from 5 to 15 zip files. So you're not just gonna get one download pop-up, you're gonna get 15 pop-ups. And you have to click save manually on each one, and that takes time, and you have to actively sit there and do that before the download even starts. That's tedious, even when we're talking about a relatively small folder of like anywhere from 50 to 100 gigabytes. That's not that large when we're talking about videography gigs. I've had folders that are 300 or 400 gigabytes just because, there's a few cameras and maybe it's a 2-day shoot. It adds up. So the workaround for that, instead of having the client have to deal with that mess, what I started doing is zipping everything into one zip file and then just sending them a link to that zip file so that they can download it. There's a few issues with that. First of all, the link looks sketchy. If you're on Google Drive and you just send a shared link to a zip file, you just look at this page and it's like, oh, it's a zip file. You can't preview any of the videos. But also, it adds more time on my side of the equation. Before uploading all this footage, I have to spend 1-2 hours just zipping it, and then I have to upload it. And then when they download it, they have to unzip it. And if we're talking about large file sizes, that adds more time exponentially on my end and on the client's end. Another thing you could do is, you could have the desktop version of Google Drive. That way you don't have to download it from the browser. You could just copy and paste it from the desktop app. That's true, but the problem is when you're sending footage to somebody, you can't guarantee that they're gonna have Google Drive. Maybe they have Dropbox. Maybe they have Mega Upload. Maybe they have some other storage solution program. You can't predict that they're gonna have Google Drive, and even if they do, they're probably not gonna have the desktop version of it because most people don't. So these are all things where I don't wanna have to think about it. I just wanna be able to send a link to somebody and forget. I don't care if they use Google Drive. I don't care it's too many files. How are they gonna zip it? I don't wanna think about all that. Now, I have to mention with Dropbox, there is a limit to this whole downloading thing. You can't download a file or a folder that's larger than 250 gigabytes. Now, the easy fix to that, in this scenario, for example, this folder, I have, I think, 265 gigs. So the way to work around it is just to download each folder individually. But with Google Drive, even that would have been too difficult because each folder you would have had to download, you would have to download like 15 zip files for each one. And then it's like even more time. So yeah, that's the first reason why I like Dropbox more. It makes my life and the client's life, or whoever I'm sending footage to, way easier. Reason number 2 for why I don't like Google Drive is because I've had some occasional scenarios where a file just gives me an error saying this has been downloaded too many times and it's going to be temporarily locked. You can't download it anymore. I can, but nobody else can download it anymore. I've never had that issue with Dropbox, and I don't know why Google Drive has that, even in scenarios where not a lot of people tried to download the file. The scenario that I remember where that happened is I sent a zip file to a client, and that client also sent it to an editor, and then somebody else. So 3 people had access to it other than me, and each of them, on their first try, they had trouble downloading the entire folder or the entire zip file because it was like 250 gigs, so it kind of failed in between. So they all retried downloading it, and so that, I guess, that triggered Google for some reason and locked the file. So that's annoying. That's never happened to me with Dropbox. I could access a file however many times I want, and other people can do that too, and I've tried that and it works just fine. So these are 2 things that I don't want to have to worry about this. I don't want to have to think, oh, how am I going to send the footage? Oh, I have to zip 250 gigabytes. Why? So yeah, I had to switch, and those are the reasons why.